Uh, I know you've all talked about your families and wives, and as Bob said, I turned 87 a couple days ago. So my surviving family member couldn't be here. She'll be 99 in 2 weeks, my sister. And then I was widowed 17 years ago, and I ran into a young lady, and we got married. So my wife is here, Margie. Up a little bit, yep. And when I first introduced Margie to some of my baseball friends, if you looked at her, she's a very attractive lady. And one of my baseball buddies looked at her and said, did you lose a bet? But, you know, I am having a wonderful life. Everybody that has come up here, I've enjoyed all the stories. I heard about Joe at St. John's. Remember Frankie, when Buddy Bell said he can hit, we got to find a position for him. I see Dom and Ray Negron, and this program has gone long enough that I think when it's over, we'll be heading down to Studio 54. So, you know, I'm wearing my World Series ring and my Hall of Fame ring, and they're kind of showy, but I'm wearing them for a reason, and I'll get to that. But first of all, everybody talks about their parents. So my parents are a bit different in that my mother saw me pitch one game. I pitched over 1,000 professional games. She saw me pitch Game 2 of the 1965 World Series. So I caught the last out of the game. You may have seen it on Facebook a couple days ago, line drive, right? I don't know how I caught it. It caught me. But anyway, all the fans are cheering, and she looked at my dad and said, did they win? So when they would say, Nancy, we heard your son's a pretty good baseball player. She said, you know, I've heard that. I think he's the one that throws the ball so they can hit it. So that's the kind of mother I had. I didn't have a little league mother. And then my dad, on the other hand, I think I learned so much about the value of teamwork from him. He was at every game. I didn't know where he was. He'd always be sitting in the distance. And I was a pretty decent basketball player. I was a short kid that I could pass, dribble, play defense, never scored much. But this particular game, I scored way over my skis. I'm 2 blocks from home. I said, I wonder what my dad's going to say about the game I had tonight. So I walk in the house. He took a couple draws on his corncob pipe. He said, well, Carl threw you some nice passes tonight, didn't he? So that's kind of my family background, and I thought that every kid in America grew up the way I did because I just had the perfect childhood. So I got off to play baseball, like I said, 25 years. They've talked about my career. I don't have to tell you any stories about my career other than to say when I was 43 is when I got this World Series ring. That was my 24th full season. That's the longest anybody's ever had to wait to get a championship ring. I actually played golf with Ray Bork this summer, and he waited 22 to get his Stanley Cup, so I passed him by a couple. And so all of a sudden at 43, when my baseball career is going to end, my life has been this series of thrills and enjoyment that I couldn't imagine having. My baseball hero, as Bob mentioned, connecting me with Connie Mack and the Philadelphia A's, my baseball hero was Bobby Shantz. I doubt any of you have heard of Bobby Shantz. MVP, 1952, went 24-7, 27 complete games. So he was the best fielder in baseball. I'd go off the back of my garage, mimic Bobby Shantz's motion, go to spring training, pitcher's drills. Coach said, kid, you look just like Bobby Shantz. I said, thank you very much. Well, 7 years ago, Rawlings brought me in to give a Lifetime Achievement Award to Bobby Shantz. I said, how often does an 80-year-old get to give an award to his boyhood idol who's 93? But I'll take it a step further. I called Bobby 6 weeks ago on his 100th birthday. Yeah, so that's one of the many thrills after playing career that I had. And then in 2022, I got a call from Jane Clark saying you have been inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm 83, and I have another one of these great thrills to be inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. So, I wear this ring, this Hall of Fame ring, and I wear my World Series ring because they are accomplishments and achievements that I'm grateful for. But the reason that I'm grateful for them and the reason they happened is the man that stood up earlier, Jack McKeon. So he's 27. Yeah. He's 27. I'm 19. I have the Class B club made playing for Pete Suter. So Jack, he could sell snowmobiles in Miami Beach, right? So he said, kid, you come pitch for me out in Missoula. I'll teach you a little about pitching. So I go out to Missoula with Jack, and I start the year 1-4. Man, what'd I do? One more bad game, I'm going home. He called me over, he said, kid, you're going to the big leagues. You're going to pitch for me every 4 days. We only have 7 pitchers, 2 lefties. You might pitch relief in between. 125 game season, pitched 230 innings, and turned that 1-4 into a really good year. So things he would do, like we mentioned sports psychologists, here's Jack's sports psychology, and he mentioned it. Tight game, 6th inning, couple men on, he's catching, comes out to the mound, spit a little tobacco juice on my shoes, flip me the ball. Well, kid, you got into it, figure out a way to get out of it. And a lot of times I didn't, but I'll tell you that's a big thing that's missing in today's game. These talented young pitchers really don't get a chance to pitch out of jams, but we did it there, and because you had to learn to do it. You didn't always get out of them, but Jack taught me a lot about doing that. And when I think back of being 19 years old, and here we are in 2025, and I have my playing manager with me at 94. How unbelievable is that? And I had so much, I hope baseball doesn't lose the guys like Jack McKeon. Del Wilbur, you remember Del, Jack? I got an email from his son the other day, and now we're getting a lot of our baseball guys pushed aside because there's so much technology involved in the game. But we didn't have baseball guys like Jack McKeon to teach you like you said, pitching coaches. I didn't have a pitching coach till I got to the big leagues. Our trainer was our bus driver. He had a towel and a tube of ethyl chloride. He was also our traveling secretary. So, you had to figure it out on your own. So I really wish that baseball would retain some of the old school baseball guys like that can really teach you the fundamentals. Nancy mentioned my announcing career, and I think probably I'm more recognizable in New York for my announcing than for playing, because I just played here a brief stint with the Yankees, but it was an unusual year. It was bittersweet. It was the year that Thurman was killed. We all had dinner together with Thurman 2 nights before that. But it was also the Bronx Zoo. As Brian would say, a hostile environment. I took the red eye from San Francisco to New York when they picked up my contract. I walked in early in the morning to the clubhouse, Bob Lemon smoking a heater with his feet crossed up on the desk. He said, can you pitch today? I said, that's why I'm here. And so, would you believe I faced my teammate Rod Carew with the bases loaded, and I got a double play ball out of it. I played for 3 managers. You'd appreciate this. In a year's time, I played for Bob Lemon, who was cool, calm. Now we're not doing well. In comes Billy, who was anything but cool and calm. So he's there to the end of the year. Then he punches out a marshmallow salesman, and he gets fired. And then I go to spring training, and I'm playing for Dick Hauser. Right? But that's the way it was with the Yankees. But announcing-wise, I like to think I approach my craft the same way I did with baseball. I mean, I had a pitching lesson in 1963 from Warren Spahn. Never forgot it. I mean, I couldn't wait to meet Warren Spahn. I couldn't wait to meet guys that were my heroes that did things the way I wished I could do them. And I did the same thing in broadcasting. So my broadcast mentor, when I got a job doing the Yankee games, was Bill White. And all of you in this room probably remember Bill White and Scooter, right? Bill, unfortunately, Bill is in memory care. I visited him last spring, but he was very helpful to me. My first year, I got a really neat experience working with Scooter. So we worked 3 in a booth. So, yeah. So Scooter and Bill White do the first 3. I do the second 3 with Bill, and the third 3 I'm due with Scooter. Now I'm the young rookie announcer. I've never done play-by-play, so Scooter called everybody by their last name. Kaat, I'm going to the men's room. I'll be right back. So here comes Joe Carter up the bat. Cleveland, cold night at that mistake by the lake. So I just start calling the game. The producer says in my headphone, "Where's Rizzuto?" So I have the little talkback button. I said, "He just went to the men's room. He'll be right back." That SOB isn't coming back. So Scooter left, went to the hotel, and I did the last 3 innings alone. It's kind of like when Jack said, "Here's the ball, figure it out." So I just had to do it. But that was such a great learning experience. And then I had great guys like Dick Enberg and Joe Madden and Dick Stockton that were great announcers that I was fortunate to work with. And then here's Bob Costas. Bob and I go back to when he was working for KMOX in St. Louis. And when the MLB network launched, they put us together. We had a nice 14-year run. So I think both in playing and in announcing, I was so great. It was so great for me to have tremendous teachers. I go back to what Jack said in the Pioneer League, what a good league it was. We had a lot of potential big league players, but what was funny is that the cleanup hitter for the Boise Braves was a 23-year-old veteran catcher named Bob Euchre. Now, can you imagine thinking of Euchre as a cleanup hitter in the big leagues? But that was, if you watch the movie Bull Durham, you could have just filmed Missoula Timberjacks and that would be it all over. The bus rides we had. So, just in closing, first of all, Rennie, thank you so much and Dom and Ray for suggesting and inducting me here into the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame. I was a Midwestern kid, so I never really expected to be inducted anything in New York, but thank you so much for that. I'm so impressed with the speakers that I heard tonight, the great stories, reminded me of so many things. That I hear Sandy with Gary, who I played golf with those last years, and whoever put this together is just fantastic. So yes. Yeah, Ray's always talking about my dance. Well, see, in '76, the movie Saturday Night Fever came out, Johnny Travolta. And so we had a player on our team, Larry Christensen, single. So he said, "I'm going to take you guys, we're going to take disco lessons." So we all learned to disco dance, right, Don? And of course, in New York, that was 2 years later when I got to New York, that was the hot spot with Studio 54. I would go into Studio 54 and I'd be standing next to Pele because the Cosmos were there, and that was such a great people watching spot. But yeah, those were fun days. We had a lot of fun. But thank you so much for sticking around for this and for inducting me. I would like to say one more thing. I did notice that the name on my award is Johnny Padres. So I have to say a word about Pods, because he's a local guy. And Brian talks about being a Dodger fan. I was glued to our black and white TV Game 7 in 1955 when Pods shut out the Yankees. That great catch by Sandy Amorose. And then, of course, if you talk to Curt Schilling, Frank Viola, they will sing the praises of what they learned from Johnny Padres as a pitching coach. He taught them all the changeup. But I was privileged to cross paths with Pods. So when I saw on the award, Lifetime Achievement Johnny Padres Award, every time I look at that, I'll be thinking of Pods, either at the racetrack or coaching pitchers. That's where he was. Thank you very much.